400,000 rubles fine for videos criticizing the authorities and the war. The First Eastern District Military Court fined TikTok blogger Alexander Navalny, known as Petya Benzobakov. In May 2022, after a search and interrogation, he was released. True, they took away the equipment. In September, the blogger was sent to a pretrial detention center for 2 months, and then they changed the measure of restraint to house arrest. Now a fine that will not be easy to pay.
Old accounts are blocked, new ones are not allowed to open. I'm on some lists, I have restrictions, banks refuse to help, can't even get a payroll card. I didn't expect a fine. For the last week before the verdict, I was preparing not to return home again. Alexander Navalny, blogger, in a comment to the Telegram channel Sota Vision.
A draft law on the deprivation of citizenship due to a conviction for crimes qualifying as a threat to national security was submitted to the State Duma for consideration, writes the OED info resource. Citizenship can be deprived, for example, for desertion, for discrediting the armed forces of the Russian Federation, and for inciting extremism. Human rights activists say that the bill does not comply with the European Convention, which prohibits the deprivation of citizenship of persons for whom it is the only one. The convention also prohibits abuses in this matter, while the Russian bill is aimed at depriving the citizenship of objectionable and is a repressive measure.
Right now in Russia there are such active rumors that all these laws that the State Duma is adopting to increase the punishment for refusing to mobilize and all sorts of other punishments, they are preparing to start a new big wave of mobilization in the fall. And of course, in such a situation it is necessary to weed out any weeds they think. But we must not forget that often the special services themselves create these so-called crimes.
The Chelyabinsk Regional Court sentenced local resident Sergei Korneyev to 2 years in a penal colony in the case of calls to sabotage the mobilization, and the Krasnodar Regional Court sent Alexander Semryakov to 6 years in prison because of the posts about the killings of civilians by the Russian military in Ukraine.
The reason for the persecution of the man was his publications that Russian troops attacked a maternity hospital and a drama theater in Mariupol, and also committed mass slaughter of civilians in Ukraine, including killing 260 people in the small town of Bucha, from the Over-the Info publication.
A former military psychologist who told how he was tortured by the security forces was charged under article on terrorism. Timofey Rudenko was repeatedly detained on trumped-up charges of hooliganism. His mother, in a comment to OVD Info, suggested that the persecution was related to her son's anti-war statements on social networks.
Earlier, the former serviceman said that on May 7, 2022, they came to him with a search and took him to the Novokosino police department. They handcuffed my hands and legs, tied a towel over my face so that I could barely breathe. They poured water on my head, all over my body, so that everything got wet. And they poked stun guns in different places, starting from the head and all over the body, and between the legs. According to the man, in this way he was forced to sign a sincere confession in the planning of the May 9th attacks, from the Over the Info publication.
In the coming weeks, 68 political criminal courts are expected in Russia. Reported by Roman Smoler, Angelika Brushnevska, UATV News.